All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this November 13, 2024 regular meeting of the Camarillo City Council to order. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. We're going to go ahead and move into closed session. And Madam City Attorney, will you provide us the appropriate announcement?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have two items on closed session this evening, both existing litigation. One is Roy Allen Slurry Seal versus the city, and the other is Ventura County citizens against Megagas versus the city. And if there's any reportable action, I will make that report.
Great, thank you very much. We're going to adjourn into closed session, and we will be returning at 5 p.m.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Camarillo Board of Library Trustees for Wednesday, November 13, 2024. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. And will our city manager, Greg Ramirez, please lead us in the flag salute?
Please rise. Hand over heart. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to general public comments. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the library board at this time? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to the consent calendar, which is the library board minutes. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move consent.
Second. And can we get a roll call vote?
Trustee Kilby?
Yes.
Trustee Santangelo?
Yes.
Trustee Tremblay?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Tennyson?
Yes.
And President Martinez Bravo?
Yes, and that moves 5-0. And I accidentally skipped the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward. And now we are at the discussion items. That's item B, the library activity updates. Do we have a staff report?
Good afternoon, Madam President and fellow library trustees. My name is Megan Profeta, and I am the Business Services Coordinator for the Russell Fisher Business Collection, also known as the RFBC, here at the library. I am happy to tell you about this year's Junior Entrepreneur Program, which I designed as a way for the RFBC to educate local youth about entrepreneurship and financial literacy. Junior Entrepreneur is geared towards ages 9 to 12. It consists of an on-site workshop, library and online resources, and hands-on experience. Teentrepreneur, which is a new addition this year because of community feedback, is the same program catered toward ages 13 through 17. Both programs culminate in the Junior Entrepreneur Marketplace, where students can gain real-world experience by selling their products and earning money. So I recently taught 2 workshops here at the library for tweens and teens, and I also taught an outreach workshop at our partners, the Boys and Girls Club of Camarillo. And one of our activities prompted students to consider why they wanted to go into business. In a surprise to no one, the students' main reason was they wanted to make money. Another common reason they shared was that they wanted to share their ideas with the world. But if they're like last year's junior entrepreneurs, they will definitely reach their goals. The 9 students who participated in the marketplace last year made a total of $1,372 through 136 transactions. So that's about $152 on average per student. And that was all money that they took home. Financial literacy education is also embedded in this program. We cover key business vocabulary, including cost, price, profit, and topics such as investing back in your business. Students were asked, what will you do with the money that you make? And a common response was, invest in my business and buy something for myself. One student even replied, I would save some money and donate some to the Camarillo Animal Shelter. The Junior Entrepreneur Program purposely encourages students to practice future-proof skills like decision-making, critical thinking, time management, and communication. Since communication is important in all aspects of life, I prompted students to practice it by selling a product to a peer during our workshop. So students filled this very room with their voices trying to sell to each other. An older sister threatened her younger brother to buy her product or else. But they were both giggling when they said it. And I reminded her that it may work on younger brothers, but it's not always the best approach for the rest of her customers. The workshop was effective because it allowed students the space to practice for the real marketplace. Our 13 students this year will be selling gift boxes, soap, perfume, jewelry, stocking stuffers, lip balms, scarves, candles, and ornaments. They hope to beat last year's sales record. And you can support them by shopping at the Junior Entrepreneur Marketplace on Saturday, December 14th, in Santa's Village at the end of the Camarillo Christmas Parade from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Community Center Park. We hope to see you there. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Mhm.
Are there any questions for Megan or comments? Yes, Councilmember Kildy?
That's a great program. Thanks for setting that up, and hopefully they'll grow up and start a business in Camarillo.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens, but it's really great that you're doing that, and get them exposed to that at a young age is super important. So thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Thank you very much, Megan, and thank you for your report. And this sounds like an amazing program that really includes our children, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is a receive and file. Moving on, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
I will open this meeting of the Camarillo Sanitary District. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Seeing none, we'll move to general public comments. Is there anybody who would like to address the Camarillo Sanitary District? Seeing nobody, we'll move on to the consent calendar, which consists of items A, B, and C.
I'll move the approval of consent.
I can second.
Have a motion and several seconds. I'll let you-
Councilmember Tedson, you can take it.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Director Kildy,
Yes.
Director Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Director Tremblay,
Yes.
Secretary Tennyson,
Yes.
and Chair Santangelo.
Yes, and that passes 5-0. And then we move to discussion items. We have none. Are there any board and staff member comments or reports? Okay, seeing none. We have no public hearings, so I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Camarillo Sanitary District.
We'll go ahead and reconvene this regular meeting of the Camarillo City Council. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. I'm going to exercise some mayoral prerogative for a minute or two and make some brief remarks before the council proceeds with our agenda this evening. We are heartbroken for our Camarillo community members, our wider Camarillo community members, and all of those who are adversely affected and have been adversely affected by the mountain fire. Yesterday afternoon, Councilmember Tennyson and I personally visited the Las Posas Estates area within the city's boundaries and spoke with several city residents whose homes and properties within the city were either damaged or destroyed, and it's just devastating. We are tremendously grateful for the immediate and the extraordinary response by our first responders, by the Ventura County Fire Department, by the Ventura County Sheriff's Office and Office of Emergency Services, by all of the fire departments who were responding via mutual aid, and they were from, as you saw, all over Southern California and some from Northern California as well, by our civilian volunteers, by our Red Cross volunteers. They are heroes. Our first responders are heroes. And their quick actions saved lives, saved property, and prevented what these terrible circumstances from becoming even worse. So I can't say enough about our first responders. Since the inception of the fire, city staff and county staff have been working in very close coordination of effort. And I know they will continue to do so. I've seen it firsthand for the last however many days it's been. I think it's been 7. Maybe I think we're on the 8th day now. We recognize that this is going to be a lengthy rebuilding and recovery process. And we also know that it's going to be a marathon and not a sprint for our community members who were so adversely affected by the mountain fire. Our city is committed to this recovery effort and committed to those, assisting those who have been so adversely affected. With respect to our agenda, you may note that our original agenda this evening had been or was amended to provide the opportunity for public comments, and is amended to provide for opportunity on public comments at 5 o'clock. now at the 5 o'clock hour rather than the usual 6 p.m. Time that we utilize. And there were two, for the record, there were two presentations on the agenda. First of all, from the Ventura County Director of Airports, and secondly, on our homelessness strategic strategic plan update, and those have been postponed to a later date. For those of you who may be watching on live stream or otherwise, well, first of all, for those of you who are here, and for those of you who may be watching on live stream, please know that there will be a community meeting tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Rancho Campagna High School, and the focus of that is on assisting all of those who have been adversely impacted. We encourage them to attend. We want them to be there. This meeting is for them. Given the 6:30 p.m. community meeting this afternoon or this evening, we want to move through our council agenda tonight as quickly as appropriate, as rapidly as appropriate, so it leaves time for everyone to get over to Rancho Campagna High School. So I ask, my request, and thank you for being patient with me exercising the mayoral prerogative, I ask those who are providing public comment on non-agendized item or comment on agendized items tonight to streamline the remarks as much as possible. We really appreciate you being here. We also recognize that we have to move our council meeting along so we can get to that 6:30 p.m. Community meeting. I certainly want to recognize, I know Jeff Shea, who's a division chief for Ventura County Fire Department, is here, and thank you, Mr. Shea, for being here. We appreciate you, and we salute you in the department. Anybody have any questions on tonight's agenda? All right, hearing no objection, we're going to go ahead and approve the agenda as is, and we're going to go ahead and move to public comments on any non-agendized items. Are there any public comments from the audience on non-agendized items? I don't have any speaker cards yet. Are there any public comments? I'll just do a going once, going twice, if that's all right. All right. Going once, going twice. All right, hearing no public comments on items that are not on the agenda, we're going to move to council and staff comments and reports. Who on council wants to start us off with council comments? Mr. Tennyson.
Thank you, Mayor. October 24th, I attended the Economic Development and Land Use Committee meeting, also the VCOG Administrative Committee meeting. 28th was the City Finance Committee meeting, and on November 7th was the Regional Defense Partnership meeting. I wanted to echo the mayor's words. Thank you, Chief Shea. Please pass along our kudos to your staff that worked tirelessly, and thank you, Commander Tennyson. I know you and Chief Shea were out there nonstop during this event. The mayor indicated that we met with several residents within the city limits, and interestingly, all of them that we talked to had already been contacted by city staff's planning commission to start the process for them during the rehabilitation of their property. So, Mr. Ramirez, congratulations to your city staff for their quick outreach. Every one of the people we talked to had phone calls or a personal visit from the building safety inspector or the planning department, and that's impressive just a couple days after the fire. So thank you for that. I'd also like to remind people we celebrated two important dates this past week. On 11/11, originally known as Armistice Day, it was Veterans Day, and almost as importantly, on November 10th was the 249th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. So please honor your veterans in your family and your circle of friends for what they've done to give us the freedoms we enjoy as Americans. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? I'm looking back and forth.
Go ahead,
Vice Mayor
Councilman.
Fiddy, you want to
Yeah,
go?
I'll go.
All right,
Yes,
up to the plate.
I attended a VRSD meeting on October 24th, and I'd like to echo Councilmember Tennyson's and our Mayor Trembley's words about that tragedy up there. I grew up in that area. I grew up in the Las Postas Estates. The other part of the Las Postas Estates, but I'm uniquely aware of where those houses were and several individuals that I've known for decades. And my heart goes out to them. I appreciate your words and your words too, Mr. Tennyson. Both of you did a great job. And I'd like to thank Mr. Eric Tennyson, our Chief of Police, for his great work. I was able to go up there Wednesday night and dedicate the area, and Chief Shea as well, your outstanding department, and the mutual aid. This is when this all comes into factor, the good relationships that oftentimes takes years to build, but it really helps, and it's critical when it's needed. And both of your organizations did a great job. I'd like to thank our staff too, who worked tirelessly 24/7 on this. And again, heart goes out to those homeowners that lost and that are displaced too. So we're here to help you in any way, shape, or form that we can. Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. So Wednesday morning, I was at Starbucks and actually ran into Councilmember Tennyson and I had a meeting there, but we knew that the fire had started. And at the new Starbucks on Las Posas and Arneal, there's nowhere to sit inside. So I had to sit outside with the smoke and the wind kicking up. And I couldn't concentrate on my meeting because I was too afraid of what was happening. And about an hour and a half later, I jumped in my car and drove up to Charter Oak Park and just looked up at the hills. And I saw the smoke coming over, and I knew it had jumped 118. But the most frightening thing for me was to just see spot fires just coming up, and just knowing that that was just the embers starting these fires. And so I called my parents who live up in the estates and asked them to please pack their things and leave. And then I went home and packed a bag as well. I live just south of Las Posas, but I didn't trust the winds. And then, as I'm sure many people, although many people weren't able to because they didn't have power, I watched on TV because that was the only way I could know it was happening. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who just felt so helpless as we watched our community burn. My parents' home made it, but many people I know weren't so fortunate. I grew up in the estates. Those were my stomping grounds. That's where I used to play and ride horses, and where I have a lot of friends that live. And I know too many who have lost their homes. From the ashes, there is hope, and that hope comes from the strength of our community. Since the inception of this fire, even before Wednesday was done, there were people that started collecting donations and started making donations and coming together as this community does so well. It makes me proud to be part of this community, to see what our community stepped up and did in such a short time. So thank you to all those who have stepped up from within our own city and from places near and far. Thank you to the Red Cross and Padre Sarah Parish for providing shelter. Thank you to our first responders, firefighters, Chief Shea, Commander Tennyson, and the firefighters from all over that came in to help us through mutual aid. Thank you to our city staff for the outreach they've already done, as was mentioned tonight, and for the behind-the-scenes work they've been doing tirelessly for the last week. We will stay united and strong as we move forward, and I'm confident we will have the resources available that you all need to recover. It will take time, but we'll make it through these challenging times. Just a couple little pieces of business. Try not to drive up there to be looky-loos right now. I know there are a lot of people meeting with insurance adjusters and trying to get into their homes and save what they can. So just try to turn down the traffic up there. I've heard that from people that lived up there. And then donations can still be made to Ventura County Community Foundation. They're accepting cash and gift cards, and that's really the best way to make donations right now. It's the safest way. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez-Bravo.
Thank you, Mayor.
I forgot all my meetings.
Go ahead and do your meetings.
Hang on, we're going to go back.
Sorry.
Go back, Susan, and
Let me
do the
do my
meetings.
meetings attended. I was a little distracted. October 24th was the Economic Development and Land Use Committee. Also, October 24th was my CPA Executive Committee. On October 29th was the Policy Committee. October 30th, CPA Finance Committee. November 7th was the CPA Board meeting. Also on October 29th, we had a Healthy Camarillo meeting with the mayor. On November 6th, that dreaded Wednesday was my meeting with Trevor Zierhut. We had a meeting regarding WellBe Health. And then yesterday I had a meeting with the city manager and assistant city manager for the fire update. And then earlier today I had a meeting with Steve Bennett, Councilmember Crosswhite from Santa Paula, and CPA staff. We met with him to talk about his legislative agenda coming up. That's all I have now.
Great.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
For meetings attended, which I'll do first, October 24th, I attended a meeting with our district attorney, Eric Nazarenko, and his staff, and he was able to really clear up for me and provide a clearer and better perspective on Prop 36, which passed, and the impact on substance abuse specifically. So that was very helpful. October 28th, I attended the Finance Committee meeting with Councilmember Tennyson. October 28th, I also attended the trunk or treat at the Camarillo Police Department. Thank you to Chief Tennyson and to all of our community partners who came together to have a wonderful time. I had a great time with Thor, AKA Councilmember Tennyson as well. November 11th, I celebrated, and as we all celebrated and honored U.S. veterans, I also wanted to extend my thanks and my gratitude to all of the U.S. veterans who are in our family, who are our friends, and in our community. I actually had the opportunity to meet a U.S. veteran at the CAL FIRE meeting, and it was very sweet. He unfortunately had been evacuated, but his home was saved. So these are all people in our community, and I especially also wanted to give thanks to Councilmember Tennyson. Thank you for your service, sir. And as we all know, with the unfortunate circumstances of the mountain fire that truly made unfortunate world news, I received calls from friends around the globe who were checking in. And I also wanted to echo what my fellow council members have stated. First and foremost, thank you to our city staff. Thank you to our city manager, Greg Ramirez, Carmen, Michelle. I know she was working around the clock as so many staff. Many of our staff were also impacted. They also evacuated, and yet they were there nonstop working for us and for our city. And I'm very appreciative of all of their hard work and their hearts and all of the sacrifices that they also made to have to put time aside to continue to do the work. In addition, I also wanted to thank our fellow council members. I know that in every one of our hearts and in every one of our capacities, we were able to help in some way, shape, or form. And I'm very thankful for every single one of you. I'm also very thankful to our first responders, to our firefighters, and our police officers. I think this is part of me being a mom and a wife, or a Latina too. I love feeding people. So I had the opportunity to deliver some food and to meet some of our local first responders firsthand right when the fire was still happening, and they looked exhausted. And with all that exhaustion, I could also sense so much love and dedication for our community. And I will forever be grateful, and I know as my children helped during some of those last deliveries, they will also be very thankful, and it's so important to involve our children and extend that gratitude throughout. I also wanted to give thanks to Padre Serra Parish and the other faith communities who opened up their homes in many different ways, whether it was the evacuation center at Padre Serra, Sister Lana. I went to visit when all of this was happening, and Sister Lana at Padre Serra Parish was really working so hard to answer 1,000 calls that were coming in from so many community members who just wanted to help in one way or another. To the Red Cross and to Food Share and so many other organizations who, I'm in the nonprofit sector, so I know we all stepped in one way or another to just start immediately helping in any way that we could. And I also wanted to thank our community members as a whole for your patience, especially those who were impacted. My truly heartfelt condolences for the loss of the property. Thank goodness no one was killed And I think that is, the fact that there was no one who was killed, I think that's such, it's so evident that we have such a caring and strong first responders who made that happen, because given the severe devastation of what we saw, it was almost unimaginable that no one was going to die, and I'm just so thankful for all of that. I know for our community members, as is normal and common, we all have different reactions. We all have different behavioral responses, and all of that is completely normal. I think we are all just trying to do the best that we can. We are all human beings, and as part of this healing process, it's important to come together and to help each other as imperfect, yet as caring human beings that we all are. In the city of Camarillo, we say that the people are the city, and that is our motto. And I truly believe that it is the people, as we come together, who will get through this together. And as we move forward, we also, I would actually also like to adjourn this meeting and get your approval to do that. And I'd like to adjourn this meeting in honor of the memory of the lives that were taken at the Borderline mass shooting in Thousand Oaks on November 7th, 2018. We know that the lives of their loved ones have forever been changed, and may we use this moment to honor the following lives: Sean Adler, Cody Kaufman, Blake Dingman, Jacob Dunham, Sergeant Ron Helis, Elena Hughesly, Dan Manrique, Justin Meek, Mark Mesa Jr., Christina Morissette, Tel Orfanos, and Noel Sparks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Mr. Mayor, your indulgence, please.
I was just going to turn to you. Thank you, Councilmember Martinez Bravo, and I believe we're going to adjourn in memory of someone else. And Councilmember Tennyson, will you do the honors on that, please?
Thank you. I would ask that we also adjourn in the memory of Deputy Sheriff Yevhen Eugene Kostyantchenko, and if at the end of the meeting I could say a few more words about that, very short and brief.
You bet.
Thank you.
And we will come back. You bet. We will come back to that. I appreciate that very much. Let me just do meetings attended for me on October 25, the Metrolink Board of Directors in Los Angeles. On October 28, I had the privilege of attending Deputy Kostyantchenko's memorial dedication ceremony. On October 29, with Councilmember Santangelo, the Policy Committee meeting and a meeting relative to Healthy Camarillo. On November 4, the Ad Hoc Fuel Hedging Committee for Metrolink. And on the November 6th, the CASA Education Foundation Board. A couple other quick things. I want to reiterate my colleagues' kudos to our city staff. Having spent many days in close proximity with city staff, they have been working nonstop, and their conduct and their collaboration with our county partners has just been exemplary. Can't say enough about them and how hard our city staff works. Secondly, with respect to Ventura County Community Foundation, I want to thank them publicly. There are a lot of ways for people to support the victims of the mountain fire. VCCF certainly is one great way to do it, and having spoken with them as of midday today, thus far, as of late this morning, they had raised in excess of $200,000, had another $100,000 coming in from Wells Fargo Bank, have another pledge of $50,000, and they're going to be raising even more money. They have direct financial assistance that's already gone out to 9 families who were left with nothing, and they are every dollar that we have many nonprofit community partners who are doing wonderful work in our community, but I do want to note VCCF, that website went up, or that opportunity went up very quickly, and every dollar that is going in to VCCF is going out to the victims. So we have incredible community partners, including VCCF, and I wanted to acknowledge them. And again, you're right, it is a miracle we had no fatalities. And that is because of our first responders, and Chief Shea and Chief Tennyson, and all of our first responders. So, okay, with that, and mindful of our clock, we need to go to the consent calendar, and that's items D through T. Is there anybody who wants to pull anything on consent?
I'll move consent.
Second.
Councilmember Tennyson, Councilmember Martinez Bravo beat you to that one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
Madam
was
Clerk, may you
reaching.
call the roll?
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kilby,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, record will reflect that that item was approved on a 5-0 vote. We're now going to move to item U, as in ukulele, and that is going to be the public hearing on MND 2009-6, and I believe Ms. Lee. There you go. Ms. Lee, please proceed. Jackie, I think you're going to have to turn on that microphone. It's not coming through.
Okay, there we go.
There you
Thank
go. That's better. Thank you.
So good evening, Mayor Tremblay, members of the City Council. This item is a request from HEG Investment and TFR Investment Companies for an amendment to the Village at the Park specific plan, a change of zone, and a commercial plan development permit to construct a 2,190 square foot drive-through coffee shop. The site of the proposed drive-through coffee shop is located within the Village at the Park specific plan, south of US 101 and east of Village at the Park Drive. The general plan designates the site for general commercial development. The project does not propose any changes to the general plan. And this is the current land use plan for the Village at the Park specific plan. The site of the proposed drive-through is currently designated as mixed use, which is shown in that star. And the applicant is requesting to amend the land use to commercial on the 0.94 acre portion for the drive-through use, which is shown in pink where the star is. Additionally, the applicant is requesting the specific plan to be amended to allow for drive-through uses in the commercial land use area, with the design being subject to Planning Commission approval. This is the zoning map for the property, which is currently zoned as Village Commercial Mixed Use, or CMU for short. And this slide shows the proposal of the applicant to have that rezoned to Commercial Plan Development, or CPD for short. And the change of zone is being requested because drive-through uses are not allowed in the CMU zone, but they are allowed in the CPD zone. And staff has evaluated this request, and because of the location being at the edge of the specific plan area, also adjacent to the freeway interchange, and that it is already zoned CPD across the street where the Residence Inn Hotel is, the continuation of the CPD zoning at this location is reasonable. And this is the site plan for the drive-through coffee shop. As you can see, it has the 2-lane drive-through. It also has an outdoor patio area. The drive-through will provide a queuing capacity for 15 vehicles, which exceeds the code requirement to provide a minimum of 10. According to the applicant, the drive-through will employ 20 to 30 people and will operate from 4:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. The drive-through speaker is conditioned to have an automatic volume control that will adjust the outbound volume based on the outdoor ambient noise level. The project site is located within a half-mile of the Metrolink station, and therefore under AB 2097, the city cannot impose minimum parking requirements. However, the applicant has elected to provide 26 on-site parking spaces for a customer's convenience. And this is an overall site plan of the area with the drive-through shown in the purple box and the area that is outlined in orange. All of that will be graded, which is proposed to be graded, and that would allow for the on-site circulation to be completed, which will connect to the existing driveways. There are new driveways that are being proposed, and those are depicted by the red stars on Village at the Park Drive and West Park Court. And the blue stars are depicted by the blue stars, or the existing driveways are the blue stars. And then the area to the north of the drive-through site is within a fault setback area. So this area over here, just south of the freeway, because structures would not be allowed to be developed in that area, the applicant is proposing to develop that as a parking lot, and that will provide an additional 134 parking spaces for the project and future uses. The proposed coffee shop building measures 35 feet in height to the top of the tower, and it is designed in a Spanish style of architecture, which is consistent with the Village at the Park specific plan and community design element. The east elevation, which is the main entrance, is the top left on your slide, and then on the north elevation is at the top right. The west elevation that would face Village at the Park Drive is the bottom left, and the south elevation is at the bottom right. These next couple slides are renderings to give you a better 3D perspective of the building. This one right here would be the northeast corner of the building, where you can see the patio. And then this one here would be the southwest corner of the building, where you can see the drive-through lane. In 2009, a final MND, or final mitigated negative declaration 2009-6, was adopted for the previously approved mixed-use project, which included the proposed project site. Only the townhomes were constructed with that project. The proposed drive-through project was evaluated under CEQA, and it would not result in any conditions requiring subsequent environmental review or a subsequent EIR. Therefore, an addendum to MND 2009-6 was prepared for the project. On October 15th, the Planning Commission held a special meeting and voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution approving an addendum to mitigated negative declaration 2009, adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the Village at the Park specific plan, introduce an ordinance approving change of zone number 336 on 0.94 acres from commercial mixed use to commercial planned development. And as a point of clarification, the agenda report and agenda was corrected to indicate that the recommendation is to introduce an ordinance rather than adopt a resolution with regard to the change of zone. And lastly, the final recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving commercial plan development permit number 255, subject to recommended conditions of approval, and that concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Ms. Lee, very much. Before I gavel to go to public hearing, are there any questions from any member of the council for Ms. Lee? All right, hearing none.
I have a question.
Mayor
Do you
Goody,
want to
you have a
open
question?
up the public
No,
hearing?
go ahead and
first,
ask your
or-
question. I'll open up the public hearing after you.
Yeah, can I drill down just a little bit deeper about the traffic flows here? It's somewhat close to an on and off ramp there, and as most of us know that drive over there, you got to kind of know what you're doing when you go over there. And my question is, has that been discussed, and how are we going to, because I'm assuming we're going to get people coming off the 101 that are going to see a Starbucks and want to, you know, come off the freeway, go through the drive-through Starbucks, which most, if not all, the new Starbucks seem to be drive-throughs now. So how are we going to direct them about how to do that with the signage so they don't get confused?
Sure, I'll just add, and then I'll ask our traffic engineer to come up, that this blue star at the bottom, there is a left turn pocket for people who are coming off the freeway to enter into the project site. And this driveway, as you get through this roundabout, is existing. This project will further improve the circulation so that now there would be a connection that goes up and to the drive-through. The project also is going to have a new driveway here off of Village at the Park Drive. That's going to be a right turn in only, right turn out. Beyond that, traffic engineer, if there's anything else as far as signage.
Thank you. I'm Rick Gallegos, Senior Civil Engineer. with
Mr.
Traffic
Gallegos, can
Engineer.
you bring that microphone up a little
Sure.
bit? Thanks.
Yes, I'm Rick Gallegos, Senior Civil Engineer with Traffic Engineering. As far as the entrance in, as Jackie said, probably coming in through where the areas are starred in blue for West Park. That's probably going to be the best location to come in. And I think we'd have to talk with the developer on whether or not we need to put in additional signage that would say, Starbucks, make a left here. But that's something we'd have to really work with him to figure out if that's what we want to do. It should be pretty simple once people start getting used to the location. It's probably going to be some of the same customers over and over again as they go by. Because the first time you go by, you're going to pass it, and the next time you come back around, and you'll see it again, and you'll come back and make the trip over and over again. And it should be pretty simple. Did I answer your question? I mean, what else can I?
I have another follow-up, if I may add. I don't want to
Sure.
get too, but it gets really busy there on the weekends with all the
Right.
soccer tournaments. And, good for Starbucks if this gets approved. I understand they have 2 lanes that, drive through lanes here. But what happens in if the situation does arise that you get a backup? Have we discussed that? We don't want the backup to interfere in any of, our traffic distribution out there. Most of the time, it's not going to be in effect, but do we feel confident that we can handle, if it's a really, really busy day there, that they can handle the traffic going through?
There's always that possibility that it could back up really bad, but for the most part, what we did was we asked the consultant to go out and look at some other locations that were very similar to this, and they went and looked at 3 different locations, and they went and counted to see how many vehicles were actually queued up at any one time, and they found that their max was about 15, or was it 13? It can hold 15, and they had 13. So it was 13 was the max that they had at these locations. So like 95% of the time, I would say that you're going to have no problems with it. It's going to be able to hold that number of vehicles out there. In the case that it did really back up, it would cause some congestion there, and unfortunately, that is a problem with the drive up, and that does happen every once in a while. But we're pretty confident that it's going to function well. That's why we did ask them to go to actual Starbucks, because when you go back and you look at the code, it just kind of goes with generic coffee companies out there. And we actually told them to go to look at specific Starbucks and figure out if that was going to work for us for queuing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Santangelo.
Just to follow up on that, but there's going to be a parking lot north of the Starbucks?
Yes.
And that's going to have a connection, a driving
There's-
connection?
Yes, you can. Yes, they could come in through here and down
Mhm.
and in and enter from this location here, or they can come up through here and come in here and make a left right there.
Okay. So if there is some backup, there's non-Main Street?
No, it's not going to back into the street.
Right.
That'd be way too much. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right, any further questions before I open public hearing? Thank you, Mr. Gallegos, appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. I have 1 speaker card thus far. If there's anybody else in the public who wishes to be heard on this, I would appreciate it if you'd fill out a speaker card and give it to our city clerk over there. Let's hear now on the first speaker card, let's hear from Dennis Hargrave, who is representing the applicant. Mr. Hargrave.
Good evening, Mayor Tremblay, members of the City Council and community. Dennis Hargrave representing the Hege family, and as we have for 24 years, represented Village at the Park. It's hard to believe that. Next June, 2025 will be the 20th anniversary of occupancy at Village at the Park for the first homes. The school opened 2 years later, as you know, and the sports park about 2 years after that. So it's been a long process. And the reason I mention all of that is, as we've told you probably a few times in the past during other study sessions or other meetings, For that entire time, we have marketed this site for a retail shopping center within the mixed-use context. And we have done everything but offer to hand the land over for $0 to grocery operators or developers. And there is not a service area. Even in the past, there wasn't a service area to justify that kind of development. Because the question is asked, I'm on the board at Village at the Parks Master Association, and I see the Facebook page, you know, why aren't we getting a grocery store? The grocery market, as you know, is completely reconstructed compared to what it was 10 years ago even, right? There are so many people in that field, and there's consolidation going on. So this concept fits in with what you recently approved in your housing element when you approved a by right designation overlay, if you recall, for this part of Village at the Park to do a mixed-use project that we can do. It was part of what you did to satisfy the state for your housing element approval, and we will be moving forward with a mixed-use design project for the balance of the site. But there was an odd anomaly in that the specific plan did not, well, the zone of CMU says no drive-throughs. The specific plan said drive-throughs are discouraged. Now, there was a little bit of a confusion, and we felt after working closely with staff for 2.5 years, I think, on this, that the best approach would be, rather than to change the whole CMU zone and have the chance of things kind of scattering other places, it would be best to CPD zone this parcel because it's adjacent to another CPD use. So with that, that's kind of the rationale behind it. I know we all have a full evening ahead of us tonight with other meetings. Other than that, we support fully what staff is recommending, and I'm here to answer questions such as were raised by Councilmember Kildee.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. Any members of the council have any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
I have one, if I may add, just really quick. Yeah, Dennison, you know, you've been a planner for decades here. In your opinion, is this the highest and best relative use within the parameters that we've got here for this potential development, and the 26 parking spaces that is just going to accommodate to a certain extent the volume that we have here?
We do feel it's the highest and best use because of the retail component and the freeway location. Adding this additional driveway, the red star at the lower left, right next to the word village, will provide that access back onto the freeway. I'm through that intersection both at school rush hour and soccer rush hour and every other, you know, time. Other than that, it's a, you know, it's a very open intersection. But we feel it's the highest and best use, and it also allows, just to be clear, the Hiji family will retain ownership of the building, and as the model that Starbucks uses is they lease the building on a long-term lease from them, and so it'll remain part of a portfolio that will include the rest of the mixed-use project, and we feel like it gives us a way to manage that. And quite candidly, the demands of the mixed-use project under the by right housing with the 20% affordable units that have to be built within that, this provides part of the revenue stream, candidly, to justify the ability. You know, we need a revenue generator in here as well. So that's why I feel this is highest and best use, and it's not detrimental to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. Are any other questions? All right, hearing none, are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, seeing none, let's bring it back. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Let's bring it back to council for discussion and action. Do I hear any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I'll move
Aye,
the
aye.
suggested action. Sorry. Did I beat you?
Yes, no, that's fine. I just had a couple comments to make.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like this project, and I actually do live at Village at the Park. I think that it will increase the walkability for that entire community that is really quite diverse, with children and families and people of all ages. So I do like that it's going to be a space that will serve everyone. I also got very excited in looking at the renderings and what it will look like. I do like the additional parking spaces, and then also how the applicant utilized the space to add that extra parking. I think I really like that part as well. And as a soccer parent, I know how soccer mornings are, but there are multiple entrances to the entire park. And so for us, I know that, you know, it's easier because we could either just walk there or which we prefer, but I don't really have any concerns with traffic backing up that far into the street, and it doesn't sound that would be the case anyways. So I am in full support of the project. And if you were going to
Are you ready to
motion,
are you prepared to make a motion?
I'm prepared to make a motion, or
Yeah, hang on a second. I'm sorry. Vice Mayor Kildee,
I
do
just
you
want to
have- you
make
want
one
to
just
make
real
more
quick.
comments?
Ever since I've been on the city council, this is an outstanding master plan community, but we have dealt with parking issues out there and we've dealt with traffic issues. That's why I brought up those comments today. It's nothing personal towards anybody else. I just want to make sure that whatever we're doing here, that it's the highest and best relative use for whatever we can do here. And I'm convinced now with the new driveway and the parking places there and the directional, I think this is going to work out there. But I want to bring that up because it is a change of what was originally thought of there. No fault of anybody. It didn't work out what we originally thought. But I think this is probably as good as we can do now, and we're hoping that it's going to work and provide a needed, you know, for the community out there, obviously to walk out there and be part of the fabric there. So I can support it.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move staff's recommendations 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kildee,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, record will reflect that that item was adopted on a 5-0 vote. We now go to discussion items. Item W, proclamation of local emergency. Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor. This item before you is a proclamation and formal declaration of a local emergency in the city of Camarillo due to the mountain fire that began on November 6, 2024. The Camarillo Municipal Code empowers the city manager and emergency operations director to declare a local emergency when there's a threat of extreme peril per California Government Code Section 8550. Further authorizes this action, particularly when conditions exceed local response capabilities. The Emergency Operations Center was activated at 10:35 a.m. on Wednesday, November 6th. On November 7th, 2024, acting in capacity as EOC Director, I signed a proclamation of local emergency. This local emergency proclamation enables the city to work with the state, federal government, and other local agencies to access resources for firefighting, evacuation, and recovery. It allows the city to access necessary resources and enact emergency powers to protect residents, property, and infrastructure. Pursuant to Government Code Section 8630 and the Camarillo Municipal Code, Chapter 2.32, this proclamation must be submitted to the City Council for ratification within 7 days, with periodic City Council review to determine if conditions warrant its continuation. The city is also requesting waivers, access to state and federal resources, and recovery assistance under the California Disaster Assistance Act to facilitate an effective response. Ratifying this proclamation is a vital step to ensure that Camarillo receives all possible support to protect our community and overcome this crisis. The emergency declaration will remain in effect until the City Council determines that the situation has sufficiently stabilized. Staff recommends the City Council adopt a resolution of the City of Camarillo proclaiming and affirming the existence of a local emergency and confirming and ratifying the proclamation of local emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Before I ask if there are any public speakers on this item, do any members of the council have questions for Mr. Ramirez? All right, hearing none, are there any public speakers on this item? Hearing and seeing none, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move approval.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. There we go. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kilby,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, record will reflect that that item was adopted on a 5-0 vote. Do we have before we move to our memorial part, do we have a closed session report by the city attorney?
Mayor and council, there was no reportable action taken in closed session.
All right, and I know we are going to, that concludes our regular business. I know we are going to adjourn tonight in the memory of the borderline victims, and also in the memory of Deputy Kostachenko. And I believe that there is a video to that effect with respect to his the memorial dedication ceremony.
Ten years ago, we lost one of the best we ever had. Happy to be here. He was from a different country and learned to embrace the values that we have here in the United States.
This was designed so that people remember the sacrifice that all police officers are willing to make, and unfortunately too many, like Eugene, ultimately do make. This memorial is designed in the shape of Ventura County. It bears the sheriff's star and the seal of the city of Camarillo, which, as Maura said, both of which Eugene was so proud to be a part of and so proud to serve. We are grateful individually and as a Camarillo community for his sacrifice and the sacrifice of his family.
I believe that this beautiful place represents the gratitude of the people for the work that Eugene and all the deputies as they stand between us and chaos. Thank you all for being here today and sharing in this memorial and honoring Eugene.
Thank you very much for that video. That was an emotional ceremony to attend. Are there any council members who would like? Councilmember Tennyson.
Please. I just want to extend my heartfelt condolences to Eugene's family that's still standing. One of the speakers you saw was his wife, Maura. His stepson and stepdaughter-in-law and 2 grandsons were present. His oldest grandson, Eugene, had already been approved for vacation time to go up to Northern California for the birth of the grandson. And unfortunately, on October 28th, 2014, just a little over 10 years ago, his life was tragically ripped from us and this entire community, the Sheriff's Department family. I had the privilege of working with Eugene when he first got hired by the Sheriff's Office. He was in the Office of Emergency Services, and his desire was to become a deputy sheriff. And at that time, he had to attain his citizenship. And I was absolutely pleased to be at his graduation from the academy when his badge was pinned on him. I can tell you that I've dealt with a lot of our law enforcement, had the privilege of running our Sheriff's Academy for a couple of years and watching cadets come through. And no one that I ever dealt with showed the maturity, the compassion, and the intelligence that Eugene had. And it was a tragic loss. And just as a quick aside, when his first grandson was born, his stepson and daughter-in-law named him Yevon, which was Eugene's first name. And Yevon was present at this ceremony. It was such a touching ceremony that our county chair of the Board of Supervisors had a hard time. She was very emotional. The mayor did a great job, the sheriff did, Commander Tennyson did, and especially Maura to get up and speak about her loss and what Eugene meant for her and her pride in him and his pride in being an American because of the freedom we enjoy. And he came from the Ukraine, so he knows the difference between true freedom and living under a regime that didn't have the freedoms we do. So thank you, council, for this adjourning in Eugene's and in the victims of the borderlines memory tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Tennyson. And hearing no other, thank you very much. And thank you to those who put together the video. And by the way, thank you, I believe, to the Pleasant Valley Lions. And I know there are other sponsors, the city, the county, and the sponsors of that memorial. And by the way, members of the public, if you're watching this and you have not yet been by the memorial during the evening hours, please go by sometime and take a look at it. It is really uplifting in the wake of such a tragedy. With that, unless there's any other business, hearing none, we adjourn.